Hello, psychology students. Today we're going to talk about reading journal articles. A journal article is an article written by the actual researchers. So, unlike reading a summary of that research, maybe that's in the newspaper or maybe that's in a book, this is when you get the chance to actually hear about the research from the researchers themselves. The value of that is that you get a lot more details. So you'll get details in terms of how they actually did the study, um, who the participants were, and a lot of other very important information for you to use to evaluate the quality of the research. There's also the advantage that you're getting the information directly, so you know there isn't any bias or distortion. So sometimes a researcher will do research and it gets reported in the news and that information gets summarized again, and then somebody writes a blog post about it. And in the end, it's almost like broken telephone. The message can get skewed a little bit. So it's really important to be able to read the original journal source. Um, However, reading a journal is a lot more difficult than just reading a popular source. So allow a lot more time to read a journal article. So your time budget for this project should include a lot more time reading than you may expect. So I'm showing you an article that actually I'm reading right now for my own research. And I'll show you I have all kinds of highlighting and notes. So I need to digest this over a prolonged amount of time as well, like staple things to it. So the rule that I've heard from other professors is you should read a journal article 3 times, and each time should take half an hour or 45 minutes. So I have read thousands of journal articles, and I still budget a full hour just to read a tiny little article. So let's talk about some of the pieces of a journal article. So a journal article includes an abstract, introduction section, methods section, results section, and discussion section. Rather than talking about it, let's actually look at one. So here is a journal article on lying. And when you open it up, you can see the basic important information. Here's the name of the journal, its cognition, the title, and the authors. But some of the pieces that you might not know about yet are the abstract. So the abstract is a one-paragraph summary of the study. So you can think of it as a little condensed paragraph that goes through the most important parts of the study. So this is great to breeze through when you're trying to figure out if the study's relevant and if you'd like to read it. So you can think of it as like a sneak preview before you watch a movie. However, just reading the article, or sorry, just reading the abstract is not enough. So a lot of students think they can get away with just reading the abstract and using that in their paper, but just reading the abstract will not give you sufficient information to write about the study. Similar, it's like watching a preview and saying you've seen the movie. It's not enough. So you need to go on, if you find it's relevant, to the next section, which is the introduction. So the introduction includes a context for the research. So the researchers go through and they talk about all the research that's been done on that topic. So in this case, lying. So the researchers will go through different theories on lying, maybe other research that's been done on lying, research that's been done on lying in some other country and culture, maybe historic perspectives on lying. So all of that will be included in the introduction to give a bit of context to the idea. And then when you get to the very bottom of that introduction section, it gets more specific and it will talk about the study. So they'll talk about all the research relating to lying, and then they'll say specifically, this is what we were going to study to do with lying. So when you're looking to identify the hypothesis, you look to that last paragraph, approximately, last paragraph of the introduction. The next section is the methods section. The methods section consists of the who, what, where, when, how of the study. So it'll talk about who the participants were, what the measures were, so how those variables were operationally defined, and the procedure. So this is the best part of the study for criticizing and critiquing. So you may look at the participants and say, why did they only test 12-year-old boys? Or you may look at the measures and think, that's not a very good measure of intelligence. I don't know why they're using that measure of intelligence. So you can go through and see whether or not you like the measures and assess it that way. So the way you should think of the methods section is it's almost a recipe for how the research was done. So it includes all of the details so that someone else would be able to replicate it. The next section might be the most intimidating. It's the results section. And it's intimidating because it often includes statistics, it might have graphs. So don't worry too much at this stage if you don't understand. I wouldn't expect you to, and a lot of the statistics are quite difficult. So I recommend at this stage skimming through the results section and maybe reading it over a few times to try to get a general gist of whether or not they found support for their hypothesis. So they often will include some sentences within the results section that summarize what's happening, so you may understand it. However, if the results section is too dense in terminology, just move on to the discussion section, because the discussion section will often go over those results again in more plain language. So it will summarize whether or not their experiment found what they were looking for. So the discussion section includes those major conclusions, and it also puts the research back into a more general context. So it'll relate it back to previous research, kind of looping back to what they talked about in the introduction. So that's a research article. I hope you find some really good articles and enjoy reading them. Please email me if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help. See you in class.